Hey guys, good morning. Good morning, good morning. I hope everything is working. Okay. Internet. I hope internet will be stable today. Okay. Hello, my dears. Yesterday we had a very important morning life. We've been talking about the concept of ikigai, Japanese concept of finding purpose in life, finding what you love, connecting it, what you are good at with time, what the world needs maybe, what you can be paid for maybe. Wow, so it's your passion connecting with your maybe profession, vocation, and mission. And today we are talking, well, it's basically the same that we've been talking yesterday about, but mostly practical. And we're talking an example, my own example, what drives me out of bed in the morning, and how to find this ikigai and how I find it for myself. That's the reason I get up in the morning. And it's the happiness, the essence of which is that you always have something to do. You find something that makes life meaningful, it will move you forward and give you an incentive to continue. So basically for myself, it has been the last more than 40 years, well, I think almost 45 years. For myself, it was has been music, and it has been playing musical instruments, going into depth, and that's exactly what I'm going to talk about today, this example. So, connecting the dots with Sakharoff numbered heart 139, music and life. Lessons from decades of daily practice. And that's basically how music connects to life, and how life for me is, impossible to think about without music. And that's great. And that's the example of a very stable, very interesting process. So, what does the long-term daily practice of playing a musical instrument can teach us? And what it can teach, that, something that you really wish, the variations and mastery and virtuosity, it may come with time. But when you start and when you proceed every single day, what you really need is radical acceptance. And Teddy's trying to find a good place to lie here in his dog bed. So it sounds pretty squeaky. Yeah. Teddy, shh. So the radical acceptance of the process, and that's what is needed. And actually so on until the very end of the road. So when I started 45 years ago, what drove me into this was like, I was playing guitar, just picking some strings, and it may have sound, and it sure sounded awful, and not really exciting. Um, so, but for me, I was into this. I was into music from the first clinging of the strings. I was deep inside of it. I could feel that I love it. I love it. So I came back to my guitar every single day, and actually, my father was a little bit discontent because he, when I had to pass my exams to university, to telecommunications engineer study, he wanted me to sit and be deep into the, mathematics, physics stuff, and I was touching my guitar. So he said he took my guitar out of the first floor, my room in the first floor in our house, 100 kilometers from Moscow, our dacha. He took a guitar, placed it out of the window, and said, "If you will not learn your stuff, your mathematics and physics and everything, I will slip it. I will slip it like this, your guitar." No, don't do it. So there's been many different hard things, hardships also underway, because I needed to kind of not only play music but do different things in my life, and it gave me a lot studying engineering too. But the real passion for me, it was music, always, all my life. And that's why it still drives me every day. When I get up in the morning, I think I have a picture of my piano, picture of my guitar, also that of my double bass also. And that's what I do every day. I love what I'm doing for life, for living. I love my work with you guys, and it's also my passion. It has become passion, absolutely. But deep inside, I love music, and music drives me, and I really learn a lot. And that's what do I learn? Basically, variation and mastery come with time and radical acceptance. So on until the very end of the road, until I die. It's very important to learn to do the most basic, fundamental practices flawlessly. And more advanced ones can be built upon them. Even when the other things that you are already a master, when I'm performing, you need to connect with the kind of inner humility of the student every time when you connect to your instrument. And you have to return to the most fundamental. And that's what I'm doing every day, and I find happiness in this process. And that's the art, actually. This is the way, and the only this way will you move in depth. You know why? Because it's, in reality, is not just music. It's a real energy work. And it's not so much different from working with physical movement, working with breathing, working with mental training, connecting the whole body, senses into one point, working with immunity, working with the process. That's the same. It's a real energy work. And you connect with the flow. Right after Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, the guy who wrote this book about flow, remember, that's when you work with energy, you connect to the flow. And flow itself will help you so much, because you are inspired. You love what you are doing. And this flow will also help you to go into the depth. An example can be like this usual work with a layout of different voicings and different voices in your fingers. If you talk about piano, guitar is the same. You really begin to hear each of the, when you take a chord with your one hand, you can really begin to hear each of the 5 sounds separately. And you understand the deep difference between different combinations of the fingers in the chord. And it comes with time. And what you also do, you start to feel an excessive tension somewhere, and understand which muscles should work and which should not. Very interesting. It's a very, very interesting work. And for example, in order to lay out voicings in your hands, when I'm playing piano, I actually imagine my standard of sound is the trio consisting of double bass, the deepest instrument, far to the left in the keyboard, in a piano keyboard. And then in the middle, like comping, we call it accompaniment by guitar, jazz guitar. That's what I feel. It has to be very, very light touch of the chord to feel like a guitar. And then on my far right, I have a saxophone, and I imagine a baritone sax. So I'm playing in the middle of a keyboard, not on the far right. I'm not using so much far right of the instrument. I love these a more dark sound of the instrument, so I'm playing a little bit unusual in a way. And I sit also not in the middle of piano. I sit almost 1 octave to the left from the middle. So my sound is pretty dark when I'm playing piano, and I love this sound. Yeah. So in order to have this layout, you need to really start listening to those 3 instruments. And actually, I'm listening so much, so I want my double bass line in those three, on sometimes all the 5 fingers, be fluent. There has to be difference between upbeat and downbeat. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So you have to really listen and relax in order to let those simulations of different musical instruments sound as they should sound in my head. Because I have a standard, I have a golden standard of sound in my head somehow. When I listen to myself, I imagine the trio playing. And with time you understand why certain places in your body continue to hurt. It starts to be really visible and understandable. And it's possible only if you manage to decompose your process into some elementary particles. Only then it will become visible to the naked eye. And when I'm working with the health, it's the same thing. We have this protocol, it's called 5-stage rocket. And it starts with structure, then relaxation comes, then the breathing comes, and then the focus comes, and then the radical acceptance comes. Those 5 stages, 5 levels. And structure is also very, very crucial for musical playing. So what I'm doing now on the piano, I train my senses, I train my listening, I train not connecting with the keyboard with my eyes, only tactile experience. So in order to do that, I have black blinds, a mask here. So I feel like somehow some Lenny Tristano, which is the piano player that I'm very, very inspired by, or sometimes Stevie Wonder, maybe. Those guys, they were blind. And that's because sometimes you sit and look down at the keyboard. But what I I want to sit down straight and look straight ahead. Okay? To connect maybe with a percussion player that I'm playing with, not look at the piano. And now I'm on the level that I can play a concert without looking at the keyboard. And this is fantastic to feel. You need to connect with your hara point, and you need to be very, very present to allow for the flow. And you have to, your technique has to be perfect in order to be in the place where you are not making mistakes. Okay, so when you're training, you are decomposing your process into elementary particles, and then you can see, wow, when you're playing piano, you see, okay, there's muscles surrounding the hip joint. Yeah, how do they affect my music? The back, lower back, the legs, the knees, the calves, the shoulders, the neck, the jaw, the eyes, the face. Everything is connecting to the music. And my biggest problem, I had all those problems because when I'm talking about this, because I had tensions all around the body. And I've been sweating, I don't know, as a racing horse. I mean, when I was playing. Now I'm totally dry. Also, when I'm playing a concert, a recital, I'm totally unaffected, and that's great. But the only problem I have still is the problem with my jaw. I still have tension in my jaw, and that's exactly what I'm working with nowadays. And only if you specifically engage in work with the tension of those muscles will you be able to save energy and channel this energy towards your musicality and not to just mechanical work. Only then can you begin to hear the dynamic balance of all the musical lines that you are creating and all the musical instruments that you are imagining are your keyboard layout are consisting of. And you are responsible for all of those. And it's a joke, but when I'm playing with there's a particular saxophone player playing duets with, he calls my left hand for Piotr. He says, Misha, how is Piotr doing today? Because I'm playing very distinct bass lines, because I'm very inspired by double bass. So I imagine really a double bass, a real sound of double bass in my left hand. So he's approaching my left hand as Piotr. And Piotr, he's a Polish. I don't know why he has this idea. I'm from Russia, but Piotr it's a big Polish guy. He's playing double bass. Really, really good. So how's Piotr doing today? And we start talking to Piotr as the third member of our duo. That's it's a result of working with some minuscule details that help very much to the overall experience of music. Okay, and only then you have to do to connect all of the dots together. But before that, you have to, in order to master technique, you have to do only one thing before you master it. And this doing one thing, going into depth with one particular technicality, will teach you the process. That's the most important thing. And when you connect all of those technicalities together, you can transcend everything. You can transcend fear of doing mistakes. You can transcend if you have pain somewhere. You have to transcend all of this and be directly into the music, experience the flow. And it's only possible when you can stop making mistakes. And only in this is the situation where you bring it to the level when mistakes are really, really impossible. And I will repeat. When you are on the level of playing a concert, you have to experience that mistakes are impossible. And if you are doing a mistake, which is possible in jazz when you're improvising, and you have to be able to improvise basically the 3 lines together when you're playing solo, when you're playing in duos with another instrument. You have to be able, in jazz we say, okay, if you can't fake it, you can't make it. So if you make a mistake, you have to make, in French you say, bonne mine à mauvais jeu. So good facial expression and no tension of muscles. Still you do the fold, but you somehow, you convert the fold into something special. And then you can maybe like, in order to stress the idea that this is something special, you do it once again, and third time you do some variations over this fold. All of those things has to be basically into your fingers. So mistakes have to be impossible, and only then you can continue to move on. For example, if you learn to improvise 3 voices, you first need to learn one, and only one version of this voice, and then you connect it with 2-part accompaniment. And if you do it flawlessly, to the point of complete absence of errors, that's the level, to the impossibility of errors. For example, even the simplest accompaniment can sound professionally only when it's technically flawless. Only after overcoming this limit, the road of musicality itself begins. It's big words, but that's it. Technique is the beginning. That's a prerequisite for true professionalism in musicality. And this is inherent not only in the field of music, but also in the field of physical movement, as we talked about. Remember, when we are loading the forefoot, and then sometimes I do this, I connect to my heel first. When I want to, for example, make better energy or blood flow, when I'm freezing, when it's -degrees, sometimes I go from this to this, but I roll like this. So this is some techniques that I have learned through decades of training. So the same thing is like musical thing. You go into techniques first, and then you can walk without feeling awkward and without people thinking that you are crazy. It's like from the Ministry of Silly Walks. No, it's not. It's not, because when you're doing the details first and then you practice, and then you do details, then you practice, you come back again to those practices. The same with meditation. The same with relaxation techniques. The same with breathing, as you know. The same with training mental stability. One point at attention, which is the whole idea for me, training presence. Because when you train presence, all of those aspects of technicality and professionalism and live performance, they are connecting together. And guys, why do I talk about this? And today we are talking about music and life. Because music, one of those things that, in my example, connects me with life. And life connects me to music. And there's many lessons that I have from the decades of daily practice that I mean never too late. So if some of you guys, you maybe had a connection with the musical instruments earlier in your life, maybe in your teenage years, consider and reconsider to take it up again and try to do it again, to connect to the instrument, connect to the strings, connect to the keys, maybe connect to the percussive instrument. This is fantastic, and that's the part of this ikigai that we talked about, the Japanese concept of finding a purpose and something that drives you in life every single day. For myself, it's present in my life every single day. So, and remember to start with small aspects. Just taking an instrument in many situations will be enough, because connecting to the instrument itself, and this is a part of this idea of effortless mastery. It has to be effortless, because just connecting to the instrument, taking it, sensing the instrument, sitting maybe with the instrument if it's a guitar, or sitting at the instrument if it's a piano, will make you feel, sense the energy. And it's very often it's enough to maintain a practice. Like it's enough to step outside of your doorstep, of your door, to do the physical movement. And that also can be an effortless mastery. The same thing with breathing exercise. If you diminish your breathing and you sense a little air hunger, you learn that it brings you deep, profound joy. The more you master it, diminish breathing, because it opens up for your senses so much, opens up for mental stability, opens up for meditation in movement, active meditation. All of those things are fantastic. So guys, thank you for joining. It's Thursday today, and today at 1 p.m. Copenhagen time, 12 p.m. London time, we have our ship circle, and I look so much forward meeting you guys, and I hope you have some interesting things to talk about. We will, as always, we will have a lively, a nice, very present conversation. I look so much forward seeing you on our ship circle today at 12 p.m. London time. Love you. Thank you for joining. Have a nice day.